Hi, welcome to Snow Better Lifestyle. If you are new here, my name is Donna. I turned 61 in March. I raised 6 kids who are ages 28 to 39. I work full-time in tech, 99% of it remotely. I go into the office once a month, typically. And I have been on a health journey since November of 2023 when my A1C was 10. I was about 311 pounds in November of 2023. And I got titrated up to 5 milligrams in February of 2024. And I have lost 78 pounds this week because I went up 1.4 this week. So between 78 and 80 pounds right now, which is phenomenal because I think the most I've ever lost in the decades I've been trying is 50 pounds, and I put it back on and lost 50 pounds and put it back on. You guys all know the story. So it was a decent week. I did everything I typically do, ate the same food, same amount of protein. I think I tried a couple different things this week, but nothing too dramatic that would have affected my weight. I only weigh in on Saturday every week. I don't weigh in during the middle of the week because it's just everybody's got their own thing that they prefer. And for me, I prefer to just get on the scale on Saturday, even if it's not my lowest weight of the week. I still get on the scale just to see, if I'm up and down. Because I've had times when I got on the scale on a Saturday morning and I had gained 5 pounds. And then the following Saturday, lost 8 pounds. So it really varies. And I am on a trajectory to try and lose a pound a week. And that's about what it's averaging, because probably next week I'll be down 2 to 3 pounds. I mean, it just really varies. Again, exercise this week, didn't get to it. So that's one of my big challenges. Changing the way I eat, the types of food I eat, things like that wasn't as big of a challenge. I went back and I looked at my old grocery orders and I realized that I was not eating fantastic, but I wasn't eating as bad as I thought I was, but it was the stuff that I was eating and the portions of the stuff I was eating. So I just was trying to compare, hey, a couple of years ago, what was my grocery order? Because I've always had stuff delivered because I don't drive. So I was just comparing, grocery orders from a couple of years ago and grocery orders now. I know in my grocery orders from before, there was a lot of ice cream. I used to buy, when my mom was living here, I used to buy great big buckets of ice cream, like the generic brand with the vanilla and the fudge ripple through it. Big old tubs, because my mom liked to have a bowl of ice cream at night. And then what would happen is at the end of the day, when I was done my work, when I came out, I would go and fill up a bowl, not just a little bit, but I would fill up a bowl with ice cream, put some syrup on it, whipped cream, maybe grab a couple cookies, take it in my room, watch TV, and, down a bowl of ice cream. So I think that had a lot to do. Now, in 2025, I have a Ninja Creamy, which I bring up a lot, and I make protein ice cream, which is like a third of the calories, doesn't have as much fat, has protein. So I do that instead when I have a craving for ice cream. But just looking at the way I ate stuff, I also ordered in at least twice a week based on, I was looking at my old DoorDash orders. So there's definitely been a big difference in food overall. There's cottage cheese and fruit and vegetables and meat and all that other stuff in my refrigerator. And before, there would be pastries and ice cream and, and stuff like that. So one of the things I'm going to talk about today, and that's what I'm, here's why I brought that up, is that tracking. I track. According to this, I'm going to put a little, according to my what's it called? My Fitness Pal, as of today, I'm at 355 days, as soon as I put my breakfast in here, and I put my breakfast in here. I had Bay's English muffin, which I usually have, some cottage cheese, not cottage. My fingers are still too fat. Cottage cheese and some raspberries for breakfast. Boop. Okay, and then I will take a screenie of this, but I have 355 days straight of tracking. I have put my food each day in my phone every day for 355 days. We're almost at a year. I credit this, for me personally, everybody is different on how they approach things. I don't feel self-confident enough to go through a day without tracking calories. And for some people, it's upsetting. It's part of the diet culture. I understand that. But at the same time, I'm not confident yet to be able to just go through the day and know for sure that I haven't gone over. My calorie count right now, I'm in a deficit. I'm eating between, I think it's about 1,400 calories a day. I'm supposed to be eating on maintenance 19, or, if I was in maintenance, I would be eating, 1,900. Excuse me, I'm going to take a quick sip. 1,900 to 2,000 to just stay where I'm at. And then about 1,400. I eat about 100 grams of protein a day. And I try to keep my sodium down. I'm not always successful. Unfortunately, everything has a level of sodium in it. But I try to keep my sodium down because I am hypertensive. So I try to keep my sodium down, and I watch the artificial sweeteners as much as I can. I'm not always successful. My creamies, I put sugar-free Jello pudding in it. That has aspartame in it. So I am getting aspartame in, even though I'm trying not to. But I'm not ingesting as much aspartame as I used to when I used to drink the artificial sweeteners, the drinks with the artificial sweeteners in it. I tend to lean towards the drinks that have stevia in it, or even monk fruit, or some of those other ones that aren't as bad for you. But yeah, I've been doing for 300, and I credit this for keeping me on track. Could I go through and not track my food right now? Maybe. Keep in mind, I am at 230, it was a 233 today, 233.4 or something. I might be able to, but I'm not confident enough yet. There are some that do like 30 grams of protein in a meal, and they're great, especially if you tend to be someone who does a lot of cooking. I don't. I do a little bit. It's not really cooking. I use my air fryer. I use my microwave. Every once in a while, I'll cook something on the stovetop, but not very often. And I am a big convenience person because I just never got into cooking. I mean, when my kids were little, it was pretty easy. Boil a pot of water, stick, I had 6 kids, so macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and pasta. And I did that then, but it was very basic, make sure the kids are fed kind of cooking, not with any kind of look at whether or not it was healthy. I'm trying to do a little bit. I'm trying to expand it a little bit more, do a little bit more in terms of bringing other things into my weekly food, or my daily food. I am pretty regimented right now. I've talked about this before. Every morning, my English muffins with cottage cheese and fruit. Lunch, it just really varies. It depends on what my day is like at work. I might grab a bar, a protein bar. I might take a slice of sourdough with a little light mayonnaise and put some turkey on it, and grab a bag of my chips that I like. I like the Quest chips. I like the barbecue, and I like the nacho. My treats or my snacks are usually Yasso bars or Clios. I make creamies. I have those. I don't have those every day. I have them probably twice a week. And that's usually at the end of the day, or usually on the weekend or more. So yeah, it just really varies. But I am one for tracking, and I am one for getting on the scale once a week. That works for me. That's helped me to get to almost 80 pounds. I'm almost there. Next week it'll be 80 pounds down. This week it decided, you're going to be 1.4 over, and I'm fine with that because, like I said, from week to week it really completely varies. So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, is that the way that people approach the keeping an eye on what you're eating and the macros and everything else going to be completely different across the spectrum. There's Weight Watchers points. There's doing it only on protein. There's, going in and adding every single, now keep in mind, I don't do every single thing I eat. I do like most of it. I'll say 95%. So I know that there's times when there's something that I had that isn't included in my list, but I do make sure I put something in for every meal and whenever I have snacks. Like at the end of the day, I might grab a Clio and a bottle of water and go in my room, and that Clio won't wind up on my tracking. But at the weight I'm at right now, and with the history that I've had with overeating and my portion control, I personally am more comfortable with the numbers. And it can be triggering for people. I've been there for decades, like at least 2 decades, where, I was up in the upper 200s, I was near 300. It wasn't until a few years ago I actually hit over 300, but I was hovering, and I kept telling myself I wasn't going to get over 300 and I'm good, I'm perfect. And yeah, so I will post up a thing real quick. And like I said, I've been wanting to do a what I eat in the day, but my schedule is not, I'll do it one of these days, what I eat in a day, because I have lost nearly 80 pounds based on the things that I'm eating. And for me, based on the fact that I have tracked what I'm eating. So I know not to go over, and then I'm averaging about a pound a week. So for me, tracking works great. I credit it for the weight loss. I credit it for helping me with portions. I also use a scale. I'll show you sometime how to use it if you don't know yet, how to use a scale to measure things. You can zero it out and put stuff on top, and you don't have to use measuring cups and things like that. I have learned to do that by watching other people that are doing that, but using the scale, and I'm learning to be a little bit more flexible. I tend to be, and have always been, at least in the eating space. Oops, excuse me. All or nothing. When I was on Weight Watchers, it was all or nothing. I had to get exactly the right amount of Weight Watchers points. I would do really, really well for like the first 3 or 4 months, and I'd lose 50 pounds, and yay, this is great and wonderful. And then, like we've talked about before, I would blow it. Order in a medium pizza, or, my appetite suppressant. And back then, I don't know if I had any idea how much I was eating in terms of portions. If you have a good background in cooking, baking, things like that, I could see being able to not keep track of the calories on things, because you have a good sense, whatever, of how much. What's a cup? What's 4 ounces? I don't have that. I might have that in a year, but right now I still really, 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 really depend on my tracking, and I am in a deficit. We will see over the next month or so if I'm not continuing to lose a pound a week, whether it's 2 pounds one week and no pounds the next, whatever. Whether I might push myself up to the higher calories just to kind of boost it, but that hasn't happened quite yet. So I'm still in a deficit, still at about 1,400 calories a day, 90 to 100 grams of protein. I drink, like I said, I drink like 2 or 3 of these 40-ounce tumblers a day. It really depends on how good I'm being. And that's it. And that's been what has helped me to lose the weight I've lost so far. The other thing I wanted to see, what else I want to talk. Oh, okay. So measurements. I want to talk about tracking and measurements. And I haven't really, I've mentioned this before, but I haven't really been paying as much attention to measurements. You know, like I'm losing weight, and a lot of times people say, well, if you go and you do measurements and you're not losing as much in terms of the number on the scale, then the measurements are what to look at. So when I was 300 and something pounds, 320 pounds or whatever, on a lark, I was sitting somewhere, I don't know, and there was a measuring thing like this, just sitting there. And I hadn't really given any thought. I wasn't paying any attention to my size. I at the time, I didn't really, to be honest, care. But I grabbed one of these, and I wrapped it around my bottom and my belly, right? And these things only go up to 60 inches. This is the inches side, right? Let me make sure. Yeah. They only go up to here, right? It didn't fit around me. And we figured out that at that time, at 320, 315, whatever I was at the time, I was 62 inches around my my bottom and my belly, that whole area. I'm just a big, I'm like a bell, you know, everything is down on the bottom, big butt, big belly, big, you know, everything is big. And in February of this year, okay, so I was 62 inches at least around. I am, and I just double checked to make sure I hadn't shrunk, because after 60 you start shrinking. I'm like, maybe I'm not 5'2" anymore. I might be like 5'1", but no, I'm 5'2" still. I went and did a double check, took a little pen and marked it on the wall, my wall, so I can mark it. And then I took a measuring thing, you know, and I am 62 inches tall. So at one point, and I have said this before, at one point, I was as round as I am tall. Now, after a year, I am down to 55 inches. Now, at first, I was like, well, that doesn't seem like very many inches, but 55 from 62, that's 7 inches in a little over a year. And that is that much less visceral fat, that much less danger to my organs. Now, I have a long way to go. We talk about, I'm not concerned about BMI and the number on the scale necessarily, that I'm not going to try and get down to whatever's on the chart in terms of what my weight on the scale or what my BMI is, but I am concerned about all the fat around my organs. I had 6 kids in 12 years. I allowed myself to just get bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, most of that is visceral fat that's around my organs that's doing some damage. I've already done some damage, I'm sure. But one of the things I am shooting for is lowering the visceral fat. We talked about last week about getting down to 175, and I watched a video the other day, and I've seen this before, but they showed 3 people, and I might show the picture here, 3 people exactly the same weight, okay? Let's use 175 as an example. One guy was muscular and in great shape, but he was 175 and he would have been on the BMI chart for whatever that is. And then there was a guy who was maybe slight, I think they were all the same height too. They're all the same height, all the same weight, but they all had different body makeup. And that's one of the things you need to remember when you're taking your Mounjaro, GLP-1, or whatever. Your body's going to react in a different way, and your goal is going to be different than my goal. And my goal, like I said, I don't mind being fluffy or overweight or whatever it is that the chart says, but I don't want to be carrying around more visceral fat than I need to be. And not all, I've got in my arm and, things like that, but most of my visceral fat is in the lower portions. So for me, anything reduced from my lower half, from my bottom belly, whatever area, is a huge win. I mean, 7 inches. I was 62 inches around. I am 55. That's still big. I'm still round, but it's not 62 inches. So I'm really proud of that. Even though, some of us are a little bit slower. I'm about middle. I'm not super slow. What's the matter, Fuzzbutt? Come here. I think he's getting upset because I'm getting excited. Anyway, so that's, that's a huge, because we talk about don't worry so much about the number on the scale. Okay, I've lost almost 80 pounds. Great. That's a wonderful number. But I've also taken 7 inches off my belly, butt, whatever. So remember that when you're taking it, rather than look at the BMI and the other, yes, it's a little bit of a gauge, tiny, just like my getting on the scale every Saturday to see whether or not I've gained or lost. You can use that, but don't make it the defining number for you. Look at how your body is shaped, configured. You may have more visceral fat in the legs. You may have more visceral fat in your belly, things like that. So look at that as well and shoot for, everybody's different. Like I said, do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever is going to make you feel good and be able to have a fantastic lifestyle, whatever that is. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And what was the other thing on there? Yeah, so just on the tracking and the measurement, it's completely up to you. I know for some people it's kind of triggering, but for me, I just really want to get to a healthy level and reduce the amount of health issues I'm going to have as I get older. I have 6 kids. I really don't want to become, and they would say I'm not a burden, but I don't want to be a burden on my kids. And I want them to be able to live their lives without worrying too much about what's going on with mom. Mom needs help. When I was 300 and something pounds, I couldn't go anywhere with them. My back was killing me when we walked anywhere. If we wanted to go to the mall or do an event together, or my daughter wanted to hike last year, I couldn't, we went to a couple of the little places around here in Arizona, and I was better because I'd already started losing weight, so it was better, but it wasn't at the point where I could go on a hike with her or walk in a mall without having to sit every 15 minutes. So that's improved already, and that's just in the last year. And like I said, the tracking and the other thing that's been the tracking my food and keeping an eye just once a week. I'm getting on the scale. And then on occasion, I don't really do measurements very much, but once in a while to kind of keep an eye. And I think I said, let's see, in February, I was 48-inch waist, 55-inch hip belly area that we were just talking about. Bust is 47, thigh 26, upper arm 17 inches, and my calf is 18. So that was February, and I'm pretty much the same now. So it's only been a couple months. I didn't expect. But just to give you an idea, with a 55-inch hip and a 48-inch waist. So I'm not even sure. I have to go do some research to see which would be the best waist to be at my height and size. And then hip and belly. Yeah, I don't know. I will look it up. And we can talk about it another time. We'll give it a couple months or so. So, this is getting really long. So I'm just going to do real quick some notes that I wrote down real quick. Okay. So I wrote this down a little bit ago and I said, I am in my self-care era. It doesn't mean I don't love my kids, my friend, my family, but as my health improves, I'm caring more about myself, my vessel, the thing that's, carrying me around, what is left of my life. I mean, I'm 61. I would like to have a healthy next 20, 30 years because the women in my family tend to live long. I live a long time, so I'm anticipating I'm going to be around another 20, 30 years, and I don't want to be living for the next 20 or 30 years with a body whose condition is continuing to deteriorate because of the things I'm doing to it. And Mounjaro helps me to control those things, to be able to, not have the food noise that had me eating way more than I needed to be eating and things like that. And one of the big things is we can't really help others if we don't feel good about ourselves. It's like the oxygen masks on the plane. Put the mask on you first. Then you can help others. So that's the big thing for me. Those of you who are still sticking around, first of all, let me just show you a couple things that I got this week. I usually like to do that because I'm not going to be doing a separate video for it. The reason I brought up that this is my self-care era is because I am, like I mentioned in my last video, starting to buy things to start taking better care of myself. So this is an e.l.f. Skin Holy Hydration. It was only $20. And it has Holy Hydration Makeup Melting Cleansing Balm. It has a daily cleanser. It has booster drops. It has face cream and it has eye cream. So I'm going to start trying this to do more skincare. I don't do as much skincare as I should. So I got that this week, but it was only $20. I'm really loving the e.l.f. products, so I'm doing that. I bought some e.l.f. products last week, I think I showed you. And then I got my Walmart beauty box. It's like a quarterly thing, and I only pay like $8 every quarter. And I just wanted to show you real quick what they sent me. They sent me a CeraVe. Let's see if I haven't figured out how to get it to focus properly, but it's a gentle hydrating shampoo, and it sent me some press-on nails. Now this is not really my color, so I might give this to my daughters to see if any of them want it. If they don't, that's okay. I'll just donate it. And then they sent me some Degree Advanced 72-hour dry spray. This will be good for travel. So I love getting these things, and like I said, it's only like $8, and I get a few items. Like this is a full, this is a full size, right? And this is like a travel. What's the ounces on it? It's 1 ounce. I could stick this I could take this on a plane, no problem. I wouldn't have to use the shampoo in the hotel room. And then I got a full-size CoverGirl Super Cloud. That looks kind of neat. I haven't tried it yet. Okay. Oh, and one more thing. What is this? NYX Professional Makeup Face Glue Gripping Primer. Gripping primer sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? So thank you guys for sticking it out. This was a long one too. If you like this, please hit like. And if you'd like to join our growing community, then please hit subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. And those who have returned and are probably watching me on the TV, I'm going to show you guys how to comment using your phone while you're watching on the TV. And I see you, Cheryl, and Carol, and Raina tends to comment. And I see you out there watching me on the TV and not sure how to say something. So I will show you guys how to do that, maybe in a future video, so that you can just connect your phone to the TV, and then you can comment right there on your phone while you're watching on the TV. All right. I love you guys very much, and I will see you next week. So have a good one. Bye-bye.